personal favorite, Turnip Mania, the impact of the turnip on the English economy, 1066 to 1215. Let them have their turnips. My topic was exciting. It was sexy. It involved men in knee breeches. What wasn't there to love about aristocratic espionage during the wars with France, 1789 to 1815? I had overlooked one crucial fact. Spies do not leave records. If they did, they wouldn't be in business long. The spy I most wanted to track down, the one spy who had never been unmasked by French agents or American historians, had been in business for a very long time, from 1803 all the way through to Waterloo. No one knew who the Pink Carnation really was, because the Pink Carnation had been at great pains to keep it that way. I wore tracks through the lobby of the Public Records Office at Kew. I froze the reference computers in the manuscripts room of the British Library. I nearly got locked into the Bodleian. By November, my laptop was beginning to look more than a little bit battered, and so was I. Fortunately, I had one last card to play. Not only had Lord Richard Selwick, a.k.a. the Purple Gentian, bequeathed a hearty pile of documents to his descendants, their owner, an elegant lady of a certain age, kindly extended to me the right to read them. However, as all readers of fairy tales know, any good treasure trove comes with a dragon. In place of scales, my dragon wore a green Barber jacket. Instead of a hoard of gold, he considered it his personal duty to guard the cache of family manuscripts. From me. Have I mentioned that he was a decidedly attractive dragon? When he wasn't breathing fire at me, that was. Let's just say he came around in time. As Shakespeare so sagely said, all's well that ends well. Not only had I found more material than I could have ever hoped for my dissertation, I had acquired a boyfriend in the process. It was like a buy-one-get-one-free sale, on Manolos. It was, in a word, the utter end in happily ever afters. The only problem with happily ever after is the ever after bit. Don't get me wrong, I was happy, and as far as I could tell, Colin was too, at least in the limited time in which we had been together. Therein lay the rub. A mere 2 weeks after our first official date, Christmas had flung us our separate ways. My tickets back to New York had been booked and paid for well before there was any whiff of a relationship on the scene. As for Colin, he spent Christmas Day in London with his great-aunt and sister, and New Year's in Italy with his mother, all of which made phone calls more than a little bit complicated. Every time I called him, there was invariably someone in the background pulling Christmas crackers, his great-aunt, or jabbering in Italian, his mother, who apparently liked to pretend she wasn't actually English anymore. Every time he rang me, there were my parents, conspicuously pretending not to listen, and my little sister Jillian squealing, "Ooh, is it the boy?" Might I add that Jillian is 19 and at Yale? Jillian likes to say that she's mature enough to be immature. My parents call it something else entirely, and did so very loudly, contributing to the din as I pressed my cell phone to my ear and tried to sneak off to my bedroom unseen. Anyway, between our families, we seldom managed more than a few moments on the phone unmolested. By the time I had returned to London in early January, Colin had gone off on some sort of business trip to foreign climes. To be honest, I wasn't quite sure what his business was. At this stage in the game, it seemed a little tacky to ask. I'd been dating him, even if we hadn't been in the same country for most of it, for nearly a month and a half. Shouldn't I know by now what he did? On the other hand, it was too soon in the relationship to demand to know where he'd been. I was damned if I did, and damned if I didn't. I consoled myself with the thought that it was probably something farm-related. From the few comments Colin had made, I got the impression that most of his time these days was involved in trying to make Selwick Hall and its surrounding lands self-supporting, recruiting tenant farmers to do whatever tenant farmers do. Since my knowledge of agriculture is limited to the fact that